Is I played that video in the beginning, and last time we met, I asked you guys to think about what is a leader to you. Okay? Did anybody actually think of that with all the Oskies and things we have going on? You know what I mean? But the reason I've been so hung up on leadership lately is because that's what we want all you guys to be. In the future, like Josh was saying, you're going to have to be leaders. You're going to have to reach a potential, not just for yourself, but for the thousands of patients you're going to see. And that all starts right here. Like I kind of started looking back on it. We've done a decent job at changing up club and hopefully giving you guys some information and stuff that you want. But I realized, well, wait a second, we haven't really, now we need to start growing as individuals, not just as a club. Because club's one thing, but if we can have you guys grow as individuals, then that's even better for the thousands of people you're going to see in the future. So, we implemented some stuff. Mr. Seth Clement can come down and tell us a little more about that.
Woo! Come on, let's try this again. Give it up for Seth!
Appreciate it, Josh. Seeing how you took out my first, like...
I thought I'd at least give you something.
Yeah, so Josh basically hit it. I was going to start with potential and the difference between unfulfilled, and the whole reason I was going to start there is because the book we're going over in the Young Leaders Training is John Maxwell's 15 Laws of Growth. And it basically just talks about how to grow as a person. So the first chapter we went over on, it was the law of intentionality. So basically growth doesn't happen by itself. So if you want to get anywhere, like Josh said, if you want to be that, if you want to become that doctor, or if you want to fulfill your potential, you have to have a plan to grow. And the first thing he starts out with in this chapter is, do you have a plan? And I know, like, kind of since I joined Maximize Living, you kind of get plugged into things. You start going to seminars, you start doing different things, you start screening. So you just kind of think it's going to happen. And to a certain extent it does. But for me, I've kind of been stuck at basically the same levels for the past probably year and a half, just because I haven't been intentional about how I'm growing. So rather than spend a lot of time on potential, because Josh already kind of hit that, we're just going to kind of jump into some actual ways that he calls them growth gap traps. I've said that about 40 times and I still can't get it out of my mouth right. But the first one is the assumption gap. So just assuming that you're going to grow automatically, and that's kind of where I was at when I joined Maximize Living. The next one would be the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. And if that's where you're at, anything by John Maxwell is great. It's real functional, it's real simple. It's one of my favorite authors to read. And this book especially walks through all the points. The next one is the timing gap. It's not the right time to begin. And I know personally, this is the one I fall into the most, is just thinking you have more time. So when I started in undergrad and I'm like, I'll have more time to screen, I'll have more time to become the doctor I'm supposed to. And then I was like, well, when I'm in the DC program, I'll learn how to do this. Or, and now I'm halfway through the DC program and I still haven't learned any of the stuff that I said I was going to. And now I'm kind of like, well, once I'm a doctor, I'll learn that. I'll learn how to communicate, I'll learn how to grow, I'll learn how to take care of my finances. So that one's a big one for me, so that's one of the ones I start. The next is the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. There's a quote in here by John Maxwell where he says, a mistake is just a different way of doing things. So if you're making a mistake, that means you're usually going in the right direction. You're at least accomplishing something. So I thought that was really great. And another book that he wrote is called Failing Forward. And that's just talking about how you turn your mistakes into growth. The next one is the perfection gap. I have to find the best way to start. It's kind of self-explanatory. The next one is the inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. Now, a lot of us were at the philosophy night, and I think my favorite question was what Marshall said. Basically, he said, I'm really good at not doing a damn thing. And I was kind of like, yeah, that's me. I'm really good at not doing anything. If I can find a way to do it. But I like the way Dr. White kind of came around. He tried to be kind of political about it and tried to start answering it nicely. And then he finally was like, look, just man up. You're going to be a doctor. And I was kind of like, and it was for me, I don't know if Marshall got anything out of it, but I was like, okay, fair enough. But The next one is the comparison gap. Others are better than I am, or I'm better than others. Just comparing yourself to others is just not a really good way. And I know I kind of fall into that, especially in class. I'm like, well, I'm going to get a better grade than that person, or at least I, can talk better than that person. When in reality, potential is not compared to anyone else. So if you have unfulfilled potential, it's yours. And it doesn't matter if you're better than someone else, that might be their potential. The next one is the expectation gap. I thought it'd be easier than this. And he basically just goes on to say anything worth having, we've all heard quotes like, it's worth working hard for. Nothing comes easy. And that's basically, if you're going to change and you really want to fulfill your potential, you have to be willing to work hard. So basically, those are just kind of some of the traps you fall into when you start thinking about actually growing and trying to reach your potential. And so, I don't know, for me, I can tell you the timing gap and probably the inspiration gap are my two biggest. So that's why I kind of left just a little spot for you guys to put your two biggest. Think about it today, the next couple days. So the next part of the chapter, he really goes over how to change from accidental growth into intentional growth. And he had 4 points in the book. And basically the book is laid out just like this, but with more, and it explains it a lot better than I'm doing right now. But the first one is ask the big question. So if you've been around Maximized Living, we have this, we call it the big why. A lot of people do, and it's just why you're doing. Why are you in school? Why are you taking these classes? And and then he asked another question: where do you want to go in life? Like Josh was saying, what potential do you really want to fulfill? Do you want to have that? Do you want to have at the end of the day that unfulfilled potential, either in practice, your life, anywhere? But he talks about you have to change your mindset from how long is this going to take to how far can I go? Because I know I basically all the time go, if I have a test, I'm like, well, I need about 3 hours to study for that. Block it out, move on. But it's just changing. Growth isn't a time thing. It's not 5 hours or 10 hours or once a week. It's a daily thing, and it changes your mindset from where I'm at or how long it will take to grow to how far can you go. And that's when you start really reaching your potential. The second one is the timing. It's not the right time. Basically, just do it now. There's Jennifer Reed, who writes in Success Magazine that Dr. Erdemeyer talked about. She wrote, can there be a more insidious word? Later. It's one of those dream killers. I'll do it later. And I know I do that a lot, especially in school or other things. Just, I got time. I can wait till tomorrow. The next one is face the fear factor. So there's fear, and basically Stephen Furtick says it, that fear is just misplaced faith. And so John Maxwell goes to talk about there's two emotions, fear or faith, and it depends on which one's going to win out. So the last point is just change from accidental to intentional growth. And in the book, there's about 10 or 15 things that it's different mindsets. So, plan to start tomorrow is accidental. Starting today relies on hard work, depends on good luck. So they're just kind of some of the different things. But one of my favorite quotes in the whole chapter was by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "One's philosophy is not best expressed in words. It is expressed in the choices one makes. In the long run, we shape our lives and we shape ourselves." So basically, it just goes back to you control your own destiny. So if you want to reach that potential, if you want to have that dream practice, if you really truly believe that you can be one of the greatest chiropractors of all time, which I truly believe, looking around this room, we can be. It's just a matter of working hard, putting that time in, and really being intentional. So that's all we had for this week.
Hey, Seth.
So one of our dreams with this is that going into every Wednesday night, we're going to prepare